John Lennon was one of the most influential musicians, artists, and activists of all time. He would have been 75 this year, and we're celebrating his birthday at Madison Square Garden with some of music's biggest stars. We'll be talking with all of them on the red carpet, so get ready for a great night behind the velvet rope.
John was here.
He would be happy with it.
He would be happy.
You and so many great artists. Talk to me about the legacy of what John Lennon brought to the game of music.
I think John, more than any other artist, was fearless about his message, and when it was very unpopular, he really made some stances that were pretty controversial, particularly about the Vietnam War and just peace in general, and he really made himself his artistic statement. You know, he and Yoko both. They kind of transcended music and became the message, and I don't see many artists really doing that anymore. And he's sort of the template for me. So.
Where was the first time, in the first place, you heard a John Lennon song?
Well, I heard him in the Beatles when I was a kid. My sister got Beatles 1, where they're looking over the balcony. And it had all the big hits on it, and I heard it then. I was in second grade.
What's incredible about him is not just the music, but the activism. Talk to me about, growing up during that era, what John Lennon meant as an activist as well.
Well, the interesting thing about John was that he continued past, the Vietnam War and continued to, be just such a force for peace all over the world. The war was kind of starting to taper off, and still he was out there saying, we have to take a more active stance in terms of our world and trying to love each other. And all these messages are really simple. Imagine, that's just like a simple thing, but he just had a way of turning it into a great jewel.
What did he mean for you and for music?
Well, for me, John Lennon means a lot. It's my whole life I have been listening to his voice, his lyrics, since he was in the Beatles and also his solo career. And after all, I think the power message he has about peace, about ending war, about using art as a powerful weapon of peace is something that touched my heart, and I feel so identified till these days.
I saw you just tweeted right before the show about how he's an immigrant who brought peace with him. You're also very big with peace. I know you were just at the UN. Talk to me about being able to be an artist, but also to have a social message in accordance with that.
Well, it's a very personal decision that every artist can take. But in my case, in particular, I really believe in art as something that transformed my life in a very positive way.
You're performing here at the 75th anniversary for John Lennon. What does John Lennon mean to music? What's his legacy?
A spectacular musician, someone who wore his heart on his sleeve, and someone who will be inspirational for generations to come because he really walked it like he talked it. He was a seeker, but he was also someone who was willing to put his politics at the front of what he did. He believed in social justice, and he fought for it in his music.
As a rock and roll guy, the Beatles, John, they were the beginning of rock and roll. What did they bring in terms of pioneering to the game that has influenced artists like you?
Well, from lyrics to sonics, but also the one thing that John Lennon specifically injected into the mix was they started out as basically a boy band. Sure. And then he became a politically conscious person and interwove that with his music to make something that was a lot deeper.
When you look at what he was able to do as a musician, you're a guy who does it all. What did he do in terms of pioneering the art?
Well, in terms of pioneering in art, I think he made it palatable for pop music to have a message. And I think Michael Jackson took that to heart when he would make songs like They Don't Care About Us or It Doesn't Matter If You're Black or White, where he'd put social messages within pop music. I think that's what he really was great in doing.
When was the first time and where was the first place you heard a John Lennon song?
I'm pretty sure the first John Lennon song I heard was Happy Christmas, War Is Over. When I was really young, my parents would play this song along with other Christmas songs, and it showed me the power of messages in music.
You know more about music than anybody. What's John Lennon's legacy?
I mean, John Lennon was a man who somehow had impeccable bullseye accuracy and great songwriting. He was a poet and a political activist, and really put his thoughts into action, even when it wasn't popular. So, even though he only lived like 40 years on this earth, like everything he did sort of resonated and reached way beyond his time. That's when you know it's timeless, where, John Lennon past senior citizen's age, but his music's still relevant now.
Talk to me about John Lennon and his legacy to music.
Listen, John Lennon's a hero of mine. John Lennon is my hero and my friend.